Krista, would you unlock that door just so that whoever comes in doesn't walk through here? Okay, everyone, take a deep breath. So, first of all, I just want to check the sound. Are you guys good with sound online? Do you hear me? Yes? Great. You want it to go up higher? That just means me talk louder. Oh, you're good. Okay, great. Okay. So, in the energy of understanding that everything is consciousness, everything that is happening to you, everything you are experiencing in life is based on the atmosphere of your mind. So what I'm about to do is move mind around so that the atmosphere matches what I expect it to be, what I desire it to be, and that which I'm sure you all would like, which is a creative atmosphere of unlimited possibility, yes?
Yes.
So you're all willing to receive that?
Yes.
Will you? Good. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath. Let's start with recognition. Recognizing that we are this very malleable energy, this usable energy. We are the very substance, the very source that is the divine energy of life force, creative force. So right here in this moment, we are in this divinely sacred room, sharing this divine space and allowing for all that is to come rushing through the divine spark, the fire from heaven, as Ernest Holmes calls it. Allowing all of that wisdom, all of that intuitiveness to come and through each and every one of us. And so I know that as I recognize this, I also unify my mind. I unite my conscious thought with that truth that I am that very force. I am that very energy. I am that spark of creation. I am that divine life force. I can be nothing else. And neither can any person in this room be anything other than that divine essence. And so from this place of knowing, from this place of recognizing, unifying, and knowing so deeply, so innately, I speak my word for this evening, this class, this time we spend together, knowing that it is creative, it is fun, it is passionate, it is allowing all questions to come forth, all answers to come forth, and realizing that all questions and answers are one and the same. And so I just allow for this evening to unfold perfectly, because it always does, because that's what it does. This divine source, this divine energy, always, always evolving, unfolding perfectly. And so with that knowledge, with that absolute intention for this class, for this evening, I give gratitude. And I give gratitude, thanksgiving, because I know it's done. And I am saying thank you for the completion of this. Thank you for that which has not even happened yet has already happened in the divine mind, perfectly. And from that thanksgiving, I can step aside and I can release. I release because I am the law. I not only release to the law, I release as the law, knowing that it is done because I have spoken my word and I can get out of the way now, get my bloated nothingness out of the way now and just allow it to be what it always was, which is perfection. So this is what I know and I just let it be so. As together we all say, and so it is. Okay, yes, say yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think, Chris, turn all those lights on. I don't think I've ever narrated a treatment before. It's actually fun to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you all get these 5 steps, right? David, what's the first step?
Recognition.
Second step, Eric.
Unification.
Unification. Third step, Jan. Yes, realization. Why is it realization?
It's real for you.
Because it's real. Because I realize the truth. And that means realization because when you're going to talk about illness, I'm going to realize there's nothing but perfect health. And if I realize it, that's what I experience. Yes? Because we say declaration sometimes, affirmation, but as the teens learned, what did you learn how to remember treatment? What was it?
Are you the teenage rebel?
Are you, oh, that's good, wait. That's because Connie teaches declaration. Are you the teenage rebel? That's really good. You can't use that. So ours is, are you ready to release? Are you ready to release? Are you ready to release? Yes, you good? That's easy to remember, right? So I just gave you, David, what's the first one?
Recognition.
Second one? Third one? Bob, fourth?
Thanksgiving.
I thought I did good.
I'm cheating.
Thanksgiving, okay. Laura, fifth?
So it is.
What's the word? Release. Okay, so I would say no one is going to leave this class not knowing those steps of treatment. Can we know that right now?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody not know them right now? You all know them, so that's perfect. Okay, so I have a little exercise to start the class this evening. Sammy, you're not still on the floor. But you like the floor, good. So I have a little exercise on page 37 of How to Change Your Life. You don't need to look at it yet. Here's the quote. It is time to consider a larger concept and to attain a higher spiritual understanding of what you have read so far.
Oh, yeah.
It is time to consider a larger concept. And that's the thing I really love. It is time to consider a larger concept. That means, what do you think you need to have a larger concept of?
Individually, you mean?
Yeah. What do you need to have a larger concept of?
Limitlessness.
What?
Limitlessness.
Limitlessness, okay?
Honestly, for me, unification.
Unification, okay, well,
Your ability.
your ability. Okay, what else? What do you need a larger concept of, Carissa?
Laurie says myself.
Myself. That's the answer. Thank you, Laurie. Laurie, you can answer yourself. Just unmute your button. Carissa doesn't have to do anything. Just unmute your button and speak. Say it. Say it, Laurie.
Okay, myself.
Yeah! And see, she shows up there. So that's how, let's talk about this classroom. This is how the classroom works. So when you pop up on the screen, Laurie, you look lovely this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Carissa, you can pop it back to the teacher. You're done. Thanks.
Bye.
Not sure how to do it.
Back to me. And back to me.
Okay, I'll send that back to you.
Okay, well, we're going to stay on you, Laurie, so.
Teach class.
Good. She's going to mute herself anyway, so that's good. So, myself. So, if I'm going to have a larger concept, I need to have a larger concept of myself. Am I willing to have a larger concept of myself? Because let's face it, who you know yourself to be is what predicates how you get to live. It's that simple. So, here's the exercise. It's just going to be a couple minutes. Break into twos. You can go to wherever you want. Laurie, is Don with you tonight? You two can do it together, or you guys can do it online together. Laurie, if Don.
Don isn't taking the class.
Okay, so if Don isn't, well, then it's not taking the class. So it's you. So you've got you, Francesca, and Joseph. So the three of you can talk to each other. Oh, Connie, you're up there?
Yes.
Great, so Connie's up there. Alex, I need the controller for the television.
Oh, there's no.
Wherever it is. So the four of you can talk together, but I'm going to mute the TV so I don't hear you. Great. Now you guys can all talk. So here's Chris, you're going to have to follow me on the camera. So I keep losing myself. Keep forgetting who I am. So you're going to just go to, I want you to go in just groups of two. Find someone you don't know that well. Don't be talking to each other, okay? And here's your exercise. I want you to tell the person who you are. Now here's the deal. You're going to tell the person who you are as though you've never met them before. It's a great exercise. It's, hi, I am. Now here's the deal though. I don't want you to tell them all insignificant things like, oh, I'm a baker and I work for so and I grew up in Philadelphia. That's all great. It doesn't tell me who you are. It just tells me facts. So you're going to tell them who you are. And you're going to be honest. Really honest. Because there's a reason why I'm asking you to do this and you won't know it until after you're done. So be honest. Like, for instance, I'll give you one. Like, somebody comes up and goes, "Hi, I'm Joe, and you know, I have a hard time in life right now. You know, things aren't going well, but here's what I think about that. You know, growing up, this is what I felt, and you know, and here's what I think about that. So I want your thoughts. Here's who I am. Do you get that? That's who you are. Because that is who you are. What you do isn't who you are. Your name isn't who you are. Okay? So I'm looking for a deeper understanding of who am I. Okay? So I'm going to give you like 5 minutes. It's going to give you a minute to find each other and chit-chat, or find each other and do what you do. And then you've got 2 minutes. You each got a minute to tell each other. Okay? Have at it.
All right.
You know what? All I can hear is.
And our eyes met.
Can you hear me?
I can hear. Hold on. Now I can.
You guys
I can move
my mute is automatically muted. I know I can't hear either. Let me. Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
there it is.
That's
Oh
better.
my goodness, what just happened?
Somebody
don't
on the
know.
other end must have muted us, muted the
Thank
room.
goodness. Oh, I'm glad. Okay, good. That's good.
Hi, Joseph.
Hello.
Hi, Joseph. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So I know everybody but Joseph.
Me too.
Me too. Okay, who's going first?
So I think we should just, the four of us, go at it. Just go at it. I'm Connie, and I have recently gone through a really great process of becoming a practitioner, and the end result was becoming the practitioner. It was the process of going through it that was really amazing, and it transformed me. But I still have my days where I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I have my days where I'm still feeling, physically I'm feeling different challenges, and I still have my days where I just want to thump someone in the back of the head because, why the hell are you doing that? Stuff like that. That's really, gosh, if I'm really honest, I'm just, doing what everyone else is doing and thinking my way through things. I'm finding that my third and fourth thought is, wait, I'm God, I don't have to do it this way. So that's me.
I'll go
And
next.
And I'm eating, so that's why I keep turning off my camera.
I'll be doing that later. I'm Lori. Let's see. I'm having an amazing experience in the last couple weeks since we began this class, and whether or not I can attribute it to this class or just divine timing in general, I feel like I have dropped deeper, and I'm having some really amazing experiences, a lot of guidance, a lot of joy, a lot of connection, which I really needed because I had been going through a bit of a funk for, 2-3 years. But it's been amazing. It's like I was in a cocoon and now I've kind of broken free from that. And I'm just really, really loving life right now. And I'm really falling deeper in love with this teaching the more I study it. And it's just so part of me right now. But, I'll join Connie in the not walking on water yet and still being human. But I think I'm getting closer to it being my first thought, and occasionally it is my first thought. So I'm thrilled with that, and I'm going to be grateful.
I feel like I'm in a darker patch than most sound, and handling it a lot better because of Science of Mind. I think this is part of my dropping deeper and letting go, and I still haven't gotten it to first thought 24/7 that it doesn't have to hurt something. It doesn't have to feel like a bit of a really crappy word. But it's okay, and it's uncomfortable, and it's also very creative. It's very, very creative. It's fertile. I'm doing some different things because sometimes I just need to go for a creative distraction that moves my work further along. So somewhere in there is trust is building, and it feels uncomfortable. I don't have to show you the dark part of Monday right here. I don't want to go there again.
Totally get that.
Say again?
I totally get that.
But, it is there, and it's creatively fertile. And I don't want to be downed by it. I want to use it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Without fear and without arrogance.
Nice.
That's brilliant.
Are we on record? I don't know.
I don't know. That'll be interesting.
I think that's it. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
being here.
Well, I'll share next, and since most of you don't know me, I'm living in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I'm in the second year of practitioner training.
Woohoo!
And I'm going to be graduating next September from that class. And long story short, I use a wheelchair to get around. And I've had some unique challenges in my life, but the science of mind is what really shifted my whole thought paradigm. So rather than coming from a place of the world happening to me, to know that the world is happening through me was a powerful shift. And throughout my journey to the practitioner, I really found the beautiful gifts of listening and of heartfelt words and all of the other gifts that I have to share. Not only have I discovered them, but I've been able to come to a place where I can say, yes, they're important, and yes, they're worth sharing. My idea and what I have to say is worth sharing. So it's hard to, put in 1 minute, but because of that transformation, I'm very passionate now about sharing it with others. When I asked in my journaling, can you give me one sentence that would kind of describe some of these gifts? Just for fun, it popped in my head. And what I ended up automatic writing was uplifting the heart of humanity, uplifting humanity one heart at a time. So that is kind of what started my journey of creating my own ministry, beginning the classes, having the intention to continue on to ministry. I'm not worried about what that's going to look like. I just know that if it's meant to be, it will happen if I'm in alignment with it. And I know that I'm here to share this message. So that's what I'm going to share with you for now. And I look forward to getting to know everybody more. One last thing I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Joselito in the room, because we've been working together for a couple of months around abundance. And it's been such a great complementary with my practitioner training. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see someone I know here and then meet all kinds of great new people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi.
I just lost the audio, so I waved at you because you can, that was kind of.
I think we're back.
So we think another writer to collaborate with. So that's bringing it more to the forefront, and he seems really excited about that, and very excited to be part of this church and have the tools to take himself and his life to a higher place.
Good. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Would you add anything to that? Cressa, did you unmute them?
I just did.
Great, because were they all screaming? Did that sound good?
Yes, it did sound good.
What
And
would
it's
you
all
add?
true.
It's all true.
Yeah.
You're 1,000,000 years old.
And I'm starting a new career.
Okay, good. Well, who did you speak to? Oh, Christopher. Okay, so who's Christopher?
Christopher was remind me if this number is accurate. He was a teacher for 20 years.
Would you stand up and do it just so because we can't see?
Christopher was a teacher for around 20 years in a private, predominantly Jewish school. And I had said that I wish my teachers were more open spiritually. He mentioned that he started every class with a little bit of meditation, and that through his entire life he identified with this teaching. However, he was raised Christian, but this whole concept of like this one love, this self-being God, has always stayed with him, and he only found it when he moved out to Los Angeles in 1992. And that he's a loving, he's got a huge heart, and that he's working on himself so that when he's taking care of his grandkids, I think it was, he's able to continue having this giant heart and this just loving attitude towards life.
That was outstanding.
That
was outstanding.
That was outstanding. You even got 1992 in there.
I'm not really.
That was good. So, yes, you good with that?
I'm excellent.
Okay, good. Eric, who did you talk to?
James.
Oh, good. Some of you don't know. You don't, but I bet you two. I bet a lot of you know each other, but you don't really know each other. Right? So, who is James?
You know,
No, I know.
I'm embarrassed to say that the thing I most noticed was that we were both saying kind of the same thing about where we're at and kind of like knocking on the door of using this teaching in a bigger way, but not fully. And so I'm not really sure where he ends and I begin, because we were both kind of sharing in a sort of general, without getting specific way, that we both are kind of a little bit start-stop kind of dynamic.
Is that good, James? And who is he?
Very, like you said, very similar. I mean, it was strange to talk back and forth and hear a lot of the same thoughts coming out of who we both were. You know, the very much of the learning how to release and let go. The difference being about 8 years in the teaching difference. Having, you know, he being in teaching about 8 years longer than I have. Neither one of us really diving into what the teaching is and living it 100%. And like you said, there's a few times where he's, you know, gone up to the door and like the book has even mentioned in there, trying to handle and open the door, look and go, not yet. You know, and I had the same aspect of it. It's more of a spiritual cha-cha. You know, it's move up, not back.
Yes.
Again.
I like that.
No, not quite. You know, and you know, bringing, you know, and seeing more sort of bringing forward the primary thought of the good of it all versus, you know, the old habits or the standby go back tos.
Great, and you know we're going to be talking about habits tonight a little bit, so that's great. Okay, Joseph, who did you talk to?
We kind of all talk to each other.
Yes, unmute. Did you unmute? You did unmute.
I think I did.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Hold on. Joseph, are you there?
Happens.
Okay. So Joseph, what did you find out about Connie?
I found out that Connie has just completed her practitioner training, and she's very pleased with her experience. Really opened up her awareness, and she's excited about helping others.
Great. And what did you find out about Francesca? That's the bottom one.
Thank you. But that's what I was doing. I remember something about a baker, but I'm struggling because I don't know if that is the right person. I'm going to be honest, I'm drawing a blank right now.
That's okay, totally okay. You had to listen to 3 stories, so yes, we all only have one. So Francesca,
Yeah?
what did you find out about Joseph?
He's on his way to being a practitioner and a minister with a very unique ministry and an extraordinary heart and mind. A lot of giving and transformation and wanting to share his transformation as best he can. And he trusts that whatever happens, how it unfolds, that it'll be fine. He doesn't need the details now. He's good with that.
Great. Is that good? Joseph, did that make sense? Does that define you?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. That was great.
Good. Okay, great. Okay, back to me, Carissa. So, okay. So here's what the exercise is about. It's not even about hearing what the other person thinks about you or what you portrayed, although it's always fun to see, did somebody really hear what I was saying? Or I love what Eric did, which is cut through all that I was saying and just said, this is a great person, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually have a concept. We're going to have an intention about them. It's more important for you to hear what you're saying, for you to know your story, for you to know who you are. And our job is to get away from who we are from a point of like, what, you don't know who you are? You do know who you are. To get away from the idea of I know who I am based on the facts. You know, what about I know who I am because I know where I am? So what I want to do is look at what we have talked about so far. We've talked about 3 concepts so far. And the first one is oneness. Okay? And I know in your work this week, you got to go back over and read over the 3 concepts that we've worked on so far. Oneness really is the most important one because everything you just described as you relates to where you fit in the oneness. So the real question is, where do you fit in the oneness? How much of the one, how much of the ocean do you feel a part of? How big is your drop of ocean? Yeah.
What do you mean by drop of ocean?
Well.
Oh, never mind. I remember the first part.
Yes, James.
Well, with me, that statement actually can vary moment to moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Why can it vary?
Because there's times where I actually do remember that there isn't anything else. And other times that I remember, wait, I've learned something that goes in front of it and blocks my view of the whole.
Right. So sometimes I feel smaller, sometimes I feel bigger. And what's the difference? What causes that? Well, what causes that is this out here, the relative world, and my reaction to the relative world. It's not just the relative world, because you know
the
something
emotional attachment to what you see.
Yeah, something can happen, and I see it one way, Joselito sees it another way. We don't get the same experience out of the exact same fact. That's the way mind works. So your idea of who you are, your concept of who you are, who you know yourself to be, literally takes you and places you in this understanding of oneness at the degree that you're willing to know yourself. So every time you know yourself as limited, every time you know yourself as defective, every time you know yourself as less than, every time you know yourself as poor or struggling, every time you know yourself, and I'm sure some of you use some of those words, struggling, unsure, changing, which is not such a bad word, I can't think of the words I use with the rest. But every time you know yourself, you are calling yourself into being. Think about that. Every time you know yourself, you are calling yourself into being. Because you might as well just say at the end of who you are, and so it is. because that's really what treatment is. It's just a movement of thought upon mind to allow it to demonstrate. So if nothing else, your job in these 10 weeks is to get a much better impression of yourself and to leave here with a much bigger understanding of who you are. You are not your facts, you are not your situations, you are not your relatives. Physical or spiritual. That's funny for you to say. So, second one is the mind. So there's oneness, which is the big whole enchilada, and then there is the smaller version of that. And when I say smaller, I just mean individual. I don't actually mean smaller. So oneness, and then this. Which is a really hideous circle. But, so this is everything, and now there's you. So oneness is that you are one with all of it. There's no separation. You are just it. You are the entire universe. And then all the universe falls into this one individualized expression, which is you. So this is each one of us. And in here, what do I have up top? There are there's only one mind, and even the individual mind is one mind. But we say that it goes into two parts to teach it. What is it?
Conscious mind.
Conscious mind. Okay, and then the second expression of mind is sub what? Not subconscious. Subjective mind. Although subconscious mind is in here. What's another name for subconscious mind?
Soul?
The whole thing is called soul. Were you going to say that?
No, I had another idea, and then I
Which
realized that I'm wrong.
What is it?
You just say like subliminal mind, but that makes no sense.
No, it's the same thing. It's right here, yes.
Self-conscious?
Subconscious, not self-conscious. No, another name for subconscious mind would be the seat of memory. Your memory. That's what's in your subconscious. All the memory, all the facts, all that. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight, too.
Well, and also like your opinions of those memories.
Absolutely. It comes with the memory. The memory, for it to have any existence in your mind, must have, like Eric had. Before he even told me Gary's story, he had his opinion of it. So your opinion comes with the memory itself. So conscious mind, subconscious mind. Two forms of mind to just show you how your mind works. Subjective means that it is subject to this. Right? Everybody gets this part. So every thought you have lands down here. I was talking about this. Here are all your thoughts, and they're being acted upon instantly by law that moves it down here. And here's your experience. You got it? So that's the way it works. So that's the second thing we talked about, which, you know, we also talked about the triune nature of spirit, which is just all these three aspects. And then there's the creative process. Everyone understands the creative process, yes? As I think, the law takes it and gives me my experience. And what is this called on the bottom?
Form.
Form. Or, I'll put form. It can also be called spirit. And what's this one? Soul. And what's this one? Body. Which is the triune nature. That's how we teach it. Okay? So I know you guys missed a couple of these classes, so you don't know what we're talking about, do you? Do you get it, though? Do you understand it?
I don't get why your subconscious is also, like, you said, like, it happens in your conscious, then it goes down to your subconscious.
Not subconscious.
It goes to your
Subconscious is here, but this is also where the law is. Law of cause and effect.
Why is law subconscious?
Because it's not, you actively use it. Truthfully, it should all be one thing. This is just a teaching tool, such as how you teach how a seed develops into a plant. Here's the seed, your thought. It goes into the soil, and the soil brings up the plant. Got it?
Yeah.
So that's how that works. However, one thing I want to bring up, with the seed soil tree, hold on, seed soil tree, you don't just plant something into the soil and it absolutely will turn out exactly the way you put it in there. Do you? No. What do you have to do? Cultivate water it, because there's a lot of weeds in this soil too, and there's a lot of worms in the soil. There's a lot. my gardener was gardening the other night, and I got in the shower the other morning, and I got in the shower to take a shower, and I didn't even notice it, and I went to reach for the soap, and there's this huge worm crawling on the soap. And it was so out of context for me. Well, yeah. Right? And I was like, how did that get here? How did a worm get into my shower? Yeah. Oh, it was very much alive. Yes. And then now imagine yourself stark naked going, ah! So in my shower, I can also go out to my yard. There's a thing. It's like if you're at the pool, you can come in that way without walking through the house. So it had been left open a little bit, and all the blowing and everything blew the door in. And it crawled up and why am I telling you this? Because what can happen to your mind is things that you don't expect to be there show up anyway, and it's your reaction to it that designates what's going to happen here. Yes. Will was first. Go ahead.
Would I be correct in saying that your subconscious mind is rooted with the law of cause and effect, because it's like your unadulterated view on a situation, even if you don't recognize it in your conscious mind?
Yes. You would not be wrong. You'd be correct.
That was my question.
What was your question?
That was my question.
Oh.
Would I be correct in assuming that?
Yes, you would. Okay. Yes. Devin.
Is the subjective mind in that area, is that where fear?
Yep. However, fear is an energy, it's an emotion. Fear, we bring it up. We pull it up into conscious mind and then use it. And we're going to talk about that tonight, which is secondary first cause. And we're going to talk about that this evening. We'll get to it. So, clear on those on the review of what we have been doing. Any questions?
What's the third concept that we discussed? And the first one was oneness.
The creative process.
Oh, the creative process.
Yes. Okay. The first one is oneness. The second one is mind. What is mind? What are the two aspects of mind? Conscious mind, subjective mind. And the third one is the creative process. And here's the thing about that. Oneness gives me the right to use conscious mind and know the subjective mind is going to give me what I experience. Okay? So, yes.
I think you just answered my question.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to something new. Page 4.4 in your books, in your workbook, in your materials. So go to 4.4. Pull that little thing out. It looks like this. You don't have it?
Well, because you didn't want it printed. Where's your little
Do you all have it somewhere?
Is that week 4?
Week 4. You all read this, yes?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you all read it. Okay. You can look at it and refer to it while I explain this very brilliant thing. Now this is called, this says individual use of the creative process, the way it works. And this talks about, and on the next page it's going to talk about, on 4.5, the second crop. How many times have you heard the sentence come out of your mouth, why is this happening to me again? Right? Why is this happening to me again? A lot of people say that about money. Well, how is it possible I'm back here financially? How is it possible I'm back here with my work? How is it possible I've actually attracted the same person with a different name? Anybody? Not you. Right? So, meaning you keep dating the same person, it's just a different name. You keep attracting the same type of person. Right? Okay. So, that concept to a 16-year-old, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, you haven't had a lot of time to attract the same person with different names. Have you?
That's another story.
So, this is one of my favorite things to teach, called the second crop. And here's what it's called. Write this down. Secondary first cause. It's called secondary first cause, or what I call it, which is relative first cause. Okay? Why do you think, other than Joselito and Nancy, why do you think it's called secondary first cause? Well, and it answers the question, why does this keep happening to me over again and again? Do you know? David?
I would imagine that it's a reputation of something that you had originally thought. It only comes in a apparently altered form, but it's the same thought, the same belief that you're repeating over and over again. Each time the episode, each time you come along.
Okay. What did you say, Rachel?
I said it's the original secondary first cause, like the first cause, but a second time. And then just
So she said, for those of you who didn't hear it at home, it's the original thing happening again because it's first cause, but it's happening from the last time. Is that what you said? The secondary time. Okay, so here's how it works. We all believe in the creative process. We understand how it works, right? Secondary first cause is this. Give me an issue. Give me some issue.
Lack of money.
Lack of money. Okay, so.
That was fast. It's not that it's there or anything. I don't know.
This is not for me, it's for your friend.
Got it.
Nobody
in this room, actually. Nobody. That's right. It's always the second person.
Okay, so now what I do know is that you are equal to whatever you are experiencing. So we're going to put lack right here. Lack of money. Big, loud, and proud. Okay? Now, that could not have gotten there without it being here first. Okay? That's first causation. Now, first cause is the primary first cause, which is God, which is oneness, right? When it comes down to this part of you, your individualized mind, when you do your first cause, this is individual first cause. So it's your first cause. So somewhere along the line, you put into subjective mind the belief in lack. And you substantiated it with great belief. You were so certain, you saw it in the world, you saw it in your bank account, you saw it everywhere you turn. And the government told us it's even worse, and it just gets bigger and bigger. We just keep feeding it, watering it beautifully. Doesn't matter, the ground doesn't care what you plant. Plant a weed, water the weed, it'll grow it beautifully. So there's the lack. So it comes down here, and here's what it is. Relative first cause is your reaction to this.
But of course.
That's all it is. Secondary first cause is this. You have now experienced this, and you take it all the way back up here, and you create it again. And now you've got a new one, which is brothers with this one.
Can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
If you are God,
I am, but go ahead.
right? If a person is God,
Yes.
and you think this way and you feed this belief the weeds, how is that not separation from there is no lack and you are God? If you think differently, the weed versus the flower, how is that not separation?
Well, what is God?
It's not lack.
No, what is God?
Abundance, limitless.
Everything.
God can also be lack and disease. What is God? God is energy. God is creative energy. What you do with it is yours to do with it. You can create anything.
So you would say God is lack as well?
God is not lack. God is my use of that which I am to create lack. Still part of the enchilada. You can't take lack away from God because then there's God in something else.
And that is separation.
Yes, it's all God. You're only in this room because you want to learn how to use this to not create that. You don't create it by saying it's not God. It is. This is how you actually learn how to use this. You get that I can create this just as easily as I can create success. I just seem to believe this more. I have more proof for this.
And you're no less God when you're lacking money than when you have it.
You are no less God when you are creating lack or when you're creating abundance. However, your experience of what Lynn is saying God is certainly lower on the totem pole. Ernest Holmes says that when he talks about the absolute and the absolute that Lynn's talking about is prosperity. The relative is lack, can be lack. The relative can also be prosperity, just to be clear. But let's just say the absolute truth is that it's all prosperity. There's a limitless amount of stuff for everyone. That's the absolute. The relative is the way we experience that. Now, what Ernest Holmes said right before he died, after he'd written all this stuff and had a huge church spring up around him, he actually said, I think I got that a little wrong. This idea of absolute and relative. He basically understood he had been teaching duality the entire time. Unfortunately, most of our churches still think that what he taught is right. But he said at the end, it's not. Folks, here's how it works. The relative is the absolute. Lack of money is the absolute at the level of the relative. That quote is in the seminar lectures. The relative is the absolute at the level of the relative. So guess what? You can be a really down-in-the-gutter drug addict, and you're experiencing God at that level. You're experiencing your godness at that level. It's just a choice. How do you want to live it? So it's not dualistic at all. It's the truth. I can live it this way, or I can live it this way. And yes.
So when you have a perception about that, so you were saying it's how you perceive the lack of money, right? And then
Yes.
you go back up to that. So can it be like, because I've experienced success and lack, can it be, this is a blip on the radar, right?
Sure.
Having a lack, this is just a blip on the radar. Instead of getting stuck in
Yes.
that over and over and over cycle.
But here's what has to happen. You created this.
Yes.
You come back up here.
Yeah.
Then this is not connected to this. Because what you've decided is just a blip.
Just a blip. Not
And now
how
I'm
it
going to
is.
create something else.
Right.
Prosperity.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay? And now I'm experiencing prosperity. And I can come back up here and I might say, I would give it down here. I come up here and my conscious mind comes down here and creates, I'm sure we've all had this, what if I lose it? And now I've created this. I've affected it. See, this is how it works. And it's all secondary first cause. All secondary to the very first thing we started to create. No, actually, that's not true, because I broke the cycle when I said absolutely not. I refuse to believe that. Now I'm starting all over again. And in fact, the more I fill this with the truth, these things get pushed out. They're gone. So if I'm going to know the truth about money, and I'm going to say absolutely not to lack of money, I'm going to take my conscious mind and refute it, argue for my truth, not argue for my limitations. This is going to get pushed out of the way, and I'm going to end up with prosperity.
So how does that happen to somebody who's been prosperous, successful, when they lose everything?
They've done something in their conscious mind. It has to be equal in mind, or it can't show up. It is a law of cause and effect. It always equalizes itself. The mental equivalent must always be present. So if someone loses it all, somewhere along the line, they use their mind to attract in that experience. And this is good news. This is actually good news. As annoying as that is, it's still good news, because it means I can go back and create it again. And how many people that you know that lose it all, create it all again?
Right. Yeah.
And then they have to just be careful, because let's just say, conscious mind, billions, up here. Oh, whatever I'm doing, oh, I'm getting mean, I'm getting angry, I think people suck, I'm not going to treat them well. And all of a sudden, and I'm broke. But then I come back up here. No, you know what? I know how to make money. I'm going to treat people better this time. I'm going to actually enjoy it this time. I'm going to be more altruistic and give it out and help people. Billions again. And maybe this time I'm giving it because I know how to use it. See how it works? Yes.
Well, I guess in the subconscious mind, in the unawares, there resides the experiences and memories. And, we think this, I don't know about this feeling of deja vu, where, when we've got this habitual way of thinking and we're unaware of what we're storing in our subconscious mind, so there needs to be some sort of housekeeping done.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we can do with this prayer technique, with the conscious mind, so that we're not so much subject to this, reruns of Gilligan's Island.
Yes, Rebecca. You just said Rebecca. Yeah, Rachel.
I was just talking to
Rebecca, Rachel. Go ahead.
I guess Because I wasn't really getting it. I guess you're just simplifying it in the fact of like you're taking out your thoughts, create your actions, and your actions create. Like you don't just get money like you do. Like your thoughts create what you do get money.
Your thoughts do not create what you do. In fact, it works this way. Your beliefs create your thoughts.
Right, but like you don't just think like I have money and then you
No, because if you don't believe it, it has no power.
But even if you believe you don't have money, you don't get money.
If you believe you are prosperous, you get money.
But you believe and then it affects how you act, which is crazy.
Yeah, it has
But
that.
if you just
Yes,
sat
you
there-
can't just believe you have money and sit in a room in a
my
dark
point.
room.
That's my point. I just drive
Although,
Right.
I have to tell you,
No one to say that you can't do
I have to tell you, if it's done unto you as you believe, which is what we teach, that if you believe you're going to sit in a dark room for 10 days and then you're going to walk out the room and you're going to be rich, I would say if you believe that 1,000% and it doesn't take any good away from anybody in the world, something's fucking happen.
That's the whole concept behind the loaves and fishes.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, the loaves and fishes. You go to a camp. Did you never hear that?
I have never
Jesus, you never heard the story of the loaves and fishes?
Oh,
that's so funny.
loaves. I heard loaves.
Earlobes.
Oh, earlobes. And okay. No, the loaves and the fishes. It actually makes great sense. But I have an answer to this, and it's not going to make you feel very. It's not going to feel very miracleized. Just there were only so many loaves available to give to the thousands of people who came to hear Jesus speak, and he gave out the loaves. And he said, "Just have faith and pass them around, and you will be fed." So the loaves are passed out to the thousands, and when they come back to Jesus after everybody getting what they needed, there were like baskets of food left. And it was a miracle. He created all these loaves and fishes for people to eat. What I think is this. First of all, I believe that it's possible that happened, because I believe it's not a miracle. It's just the power of belief, which Jesus had in spades. But I also think it's possible in a logical way, because my mind works logically, that a lot of people go to those things and they don't want to share. And so it doesn't seem like there's much because no one's showing what they got.
Right.
And it's like, I'm going to save mine for me. But somehow in Jesus' presence, everything came out.
Right.
And everybody shared. And there was one, and it was one for all and all for one. And by the time it was over, there was even stuff left. Doesn't that sound logical?
Yes.
But I don't leave out the truth. Just like him walking on water. I always joke and say it was low tide and the apostles were drunk. Think about it. They wake up, they're like, oh, we swallow water. No tide, and they were drunk. But I honestly think it could be true too. Yes. Go ahead, Joseph. No, speak up. Can you clarify the difference between subjective and subconscious? Is there in the same area of the chart? Do they have the same meaning? As I understand, the subconscious is more about stored memories. That's exactly right. The subconscious mind is stored memories. I'm actually going to get to that if I get to that. Okay, so go to your pages 410 and 411. It's the homework you did this week. It's your treatments. Okay, on page 410. You did your my second spiritual mind treatment. Did you all do that?
Yeah.
Did you say ish?
Yeah.
Did you say ish too?
I did the other one.
You did the one after it, yes, because that's the one I'm going to go to. Okay? So, and you guys, I should send you this stuff, because this is actually learning to use your mind. Okay, say that again? No, you're not going to hand it in.
Okay.
I'm going to use it right now. I'm going to start with Eric. Is this the one, Eric?
Yeah.
Good, okay. So what I want Eric to do is just read his and follow it. No, don't follow, just follow it and see if you can hear when he shifts into each step, okay? Huh?
I know what this is about.
You do, I know, it's funny.
Can I
Okay.
start with the purpose and the reason for doing it?
Absolutely, read your
So the
purpose.
reason we're doing is I'm on a diet now that like a healthy diet that feels very restrictive, and I get bored with eating the same things all the time. So I thought I'd start with something small. So it's like the perception of the food I eat seems boring, the choices are limited. So my purpose was, my diet is filled with an interesting, ever-growing multitude of tasty, nutritious dishes which inspire and fulfill me. They are affordable and easy to think of, shop for, prepare, and or receive.
That's the purpose.
That's the purpose. So you don't want me to designate steps, just read the whole thing?
Just read it. No, they should be. You should all be working your mind to go. When did they shift? When did you shift?
Okay. There is nothing but the infinite life of God here and now. It is the one mind out of which everything is created. It is limitless, active, omniscient, and omnipotent. It is everywhere present, switched on, active, and eternally giving out its perfection in the physical form. It is the center of my being. Its very life is my life. Its plenitude is my plenitude. It creates for me and through me, responding to my word, belief, and vibration. It listens and fulfills, and I direct it. I direct its power through accessing it in mind. It does all the work of bringing everything into creation. It brings the meals, ingredients, resources, and instructions into my awareness. It literally feeds me. I am forever supplied and directed by the Spirit, replenished and refreshed, sustained and nourished with beauty, joy, and absolute plenitude. I am so thankful I don't have to think about this. I don't have to lament it. I don't need to make it happen through action. Rachel, instead, my attention now sets in motion all the processes necessary for the fulfillment of it, and I just let it happen with absolute appreciation. Knowing it is done, I release and let it go. There is nothing else for me to do or say, and so it is. Woo.
But he's happy. Now, but here's the question. Do you believe it?
No.
Brilliant words, aren't they?
Yeah.
Brilliant words. And frankly, I could use that treatment for me, and I believe it. Because I'm on a diet. I mean, I'm always on a diet. And I love the food I eat. I eat incredible things. And I'm on this diet. No sugar, no dairy, no alcohol, no red meat, no blah, blah, blah. There are other things to eat. Whenever I say that, people are like, what do you eat? Vegetables, fruits, gluten-free things, fish, chicken. Anyway, but if you don't believe it, then they're just words. But, so how's he going to use that to help him change his mind? Because what is treatment? It's just a way for us to learn how to change our minds. So what are you going to do? What part of that don't you believe? You believe the first step. You believe the recognition step, right?
Well, I mean, I actually, in theory, I do believe. It's not that I don't believe everything I said. It's that that's not my predominant way of thinking on this subject. Throughout the given day, I'm really focused on the appearance of not this.
Yeah. Okay, so you have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
Go that way. The camera's not even. So here's the thing about that that's really good. I'm glad you said that. It's not the predominant way you use your mind, but you used it then, right? And you can use it next time, and you can use it again and again. Because basically, if you have all these beliefs in here about how this diet sucks, and there's nothing fun to eat, and that's the predominant area of your mind, your job is to start filling it with other predominant things so that they get moved to the side. That's what treatment is. That's the power you have in your mind to use treatment.
Overriding?
Pretty much, yeah. Or it's like when you have to reboot. You know, when you reboot the computer and everything, all that crap that got frozen and all, it just goes away. That's what it is. When you recognize that you're frozen in your old stinking thinking and you can't get out of it, start knowing the truth. That's a reboot. It's a complete reboot. And then when the thoughts come in, fight them. And then if you can't, get ye to a practitioner and sit with someone who can for you. Okay? Good. Anybody have one they want to share? I'd like to do one more. Yes.
I'm really excited about mine.
Good.
So my purpose, I didn't write down my purpose, but I'm transitioning into a new job. So it's all the fear associated with that. All right. Knowing that God is all powerful, with God as my source, all is available. There is no doubt in God as to what is possible. With God, all is possible. There is no question, can I or can't I? With God, yes, we can. Am I smart enough, good enough, lucky enough? These are questions that disappear in knowing God is all there is. And in knowing this truth to be, I know this for myself. I know that I am part of God and I'm connected to this source, that with God through me, as me, all is possible. With this realization, I call for myself a vibrant, harmonious, prosperous career that fills me with joy, recognition, and unlimited potential. I know that I am abundance. I know that I am joy. I know that I can live my wildest dreams and I can have it all. And for this, I am so deeply grateful. I am grateful with such a huge heart, grateful to know this truth. Grateful to be connected to such a powerful source I call God. And knowing this as my truth, I say so it is, and it is done. Amen.
That's really great. If you were in my 300 class, there are things I would tweak, but you're not. You're in this Beyond Limits class, and you're on your way to, because you don't have to say you're a part of God. You are God. I am the power. You know, so you're getting there. It's just that's the journey. That's the journey. I would also never ask the negative questions within a treatment, but you did it and you ended it. You obliterated them instantly. So that was fine too. So good job. Really good job. Okay, so I think we all have a good idea. You all have a good idea about treatment. You all happy with where you are with it, with your writing of it? They're going to happen more. I do want to collect. Please leave them with Caressa. That one you did. The one that you just did.
Can you email it to you later?
Or you can email it to me if you don't have it. Really? Okay, now grab your books. How to Change Your Life.
We can email our.
Yes, please email your treatment to Caressa. Yes.
On the subconscious, overriding things or pushing them to the side, it makes me think of
Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yeah, and I'm not really satisfied that that's a good enough fix. I mean, like you could have a stroke or something, and everything could come back at you, or I mean, who knows what happens in the brain itself? It's just, why wouldn't mind be able consciously to just get this stuff done for good? If it's part of a visual or a historical.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. Because I've had this question many times, and I got to be honest, I've never had an answer that satisfied most people, and it didn't even satisfy me, but I do now. And I do because I understand what all this is now in a way that I never used to. I'm a unique, individualized expression of the One. I am all that it is. All my memories, we're going to talk about this a little bit tonight, all of my memories, everything that's made me who I am, good, bad, and indifferent, everything, the cancer, the whatever I would want to bring, whatever I want to bring up from this seed of memory, it's all God. We decide some of it's good, some of it's not. We decide the stroke is good, the stroke is not. We decide death is bad. Death is bad for the living. And it's not. So for me now, understanding what all this really is, I don't need it all to go away. It's all part of me, and it's all good. And I'm conscious of what I think about it, what I know about it, what I'm going to do with it. So I don't need it to go away.
You can become wise.
Yes.
And know
from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why. Before I used to try to make sense out of it, and I'm like, why is this never feeling good? Because it took me all this time to figure out that I don't have to get rid of what doesn't work. I just have to know who I am, and it all works.
Yeah, rather than maintaining appearances and having all of this embarrassment somehow stored.
Yeah. We were talking in was it ministerial class? I mean, I will tell you, there's nothing about my life, anything about my life up to this moment in time that I am embarrassed about. The good, the bad, the indifferent. Nothing. I will tell you, I used to be a Chippendales dancer.
Woohoo! Totally.
Bill knows that.
Love it.
I was. And I've shared that in there. Some people went, what?
Emmanuel.
Yeah, I did a movie called Emmanuel, which was a very erotic movie. I was naked. I was somewhat naked, not fully naked, but I look amazing. It was a very legitimate movie. The CAA got me into it, and it was great. So there's nothing I'm embarrassed about. And if you are, so bad. Sorry for you. I mean, that's how I look at my life.
Own it.
Nothing in you. I am. Yeah. Not a lot of ministers can say they were Chippendales. True.
This is a little irrelevant.
Oh, that's great.
No, I mean, it's always relevant, but it's irrelevant from currently what we're talking about. But it's something I was thinking about. If we are, never mind. If we are kind of all God in that sense, then we're all higher beings, then what are we higher from?
I don't use the word higher being.
Really?
Nope.
So,
That's a Catholic thing.
Well,
I know, you're in catechism every day, I understand. We don't use higher being. There's no higher being. There are higher levels of consciousness.
yeah.
There are higher levels
Higher than what?
than lower.
If we're all the higher, if we're all the higher level of consciousness.
Yeah.
We have no. Consciousness is consciousness. It's not a higher level of consciousness. Consciousness is consciousness. Christopher may use it one way and not get what he wants out of life. That may not be a good expression of his consciousness. I may use it a way and get exactly what I want. I'm operating at a higher level of consciousness. When I say that, I actually mean a higher level of belief, to be honest. Consciousness is consciousness. How I use it is the level.
So there is like a level of how you use your consciousness.
Yes.
Okay.
Some people believe the truth. Some people don't. Some people think that they're not all that much. He talks about it in here. Some people are insecure. They don't think much of themselves. That's not using their consciousness very well, because it's going to bring forth that experience. Okay. So rebuilding your life. I'm right on page 37. Okay? He says at the top, and I used it for the top, it is time to consider a larger concept and to attain a higher spiritual understanding of what you have read so far. And I trust that we just did that. So go to the next page, the ladder of consciousness. There are different levels of consciousness, and they say the highest level of consciousness is self-conscious. However, that's not necessarily so anymore, because there's another consciousness that comes above self-consciousness, and that is called cosmic consciousness. And it's sort of what he's insinuating here. Go to the end of the first paragraph. He says, consciousness sleeps in mineral life, dreams in plant life, awakens in animal life, and comes to self-consciousness in human life. So there are different levels of consciousness. People will argue with me, if Jill Johnson were in the room, she would argue with me, that animals, dogs, are self-conscious. I have never had a dog talk to me, although they do let you know what they need, and they do relate to you. But whether they know what they're doing, whether they're conscious of what they are doing, most scientists will tell you no, that they are not self-conscious. The only thing self-conscious is mankind, as far as we know. However, when we move past self-conscious, the next plateau is, go down to the 2 more paragraphs, he talks about no separation between humankind and God. No separation. And then he says, he talks about oneness with God. That's what cosmic consciousness is. When the mind stops just being self-conscious and dealing with itself and realizes it is one with everything. That's a much higher level of consciousness. That's the Christ consciousness. Anybody clear on that? And Christ consciousness was not reserved for Jesus of Nazareth. Christ consciousness was illuminated in Jesus of Nazareth and was shown by him to be that. We call it Christ consciousness, but that's all it means. That there is a part of you that when it is in touch with everything, you are at the highest level of understanding. Make sense? Okay. Desire and work for the best. In order to promote such growth, you need to recognize the highest qualities in the range of human understanding, and you must cultivate them. Recognize the highest qualities in the range of human understanding, and you must cultivate them. So, I want you to give me some qualities. What are some qualities?
They have to be good ones?
Yep. I think the word was highest qualities.
Kindness.
Yeah.
Kindness. Great. What else?
Perceptive.
Perception.
Perceptive. Radiant health. Optimistic.
Okay. What else?
Generosity.
What did you say? Laura? What?
Creative.
Creative.
Empathetic.
What'd you say?
Empathetic.
Empathetic. Let's talk about that. So here's the thing about empathetic. Just to really talk about what the word means. To be an empath, it means for me to feel what you feel.
That means you're buying kind of into it.
Yeah. So while people are empaths, and I know that, what we teach here is that empathy is not your friend, because I don't need to feel what you feel to help you to know the truth about you. So empathy and sympathy tend to kind of swarm around each other, and people are confused what they both mean. So what we talk about is compassion, or even compassion sometimes gets it. If you look them up, they're all in the same field. They're all in the same boat. They're all, oh, you feel terrible, me too.
Is it presumptuous? Perhaps.
Sometimes, if you're going to throw your crap on someone else. But even to say to someone, I have a friend who was a massage therapist, and Wendy, and she used to come home from work and she'd be like, oh, I'm exhausted. I take on everybody. So I'm like, why do you take it on? Just massage them. Don't take it on. No, I don't take on. You know the stuff I have to listen to? I don't take any of that stuff on. Any of you tell me. In fact, once you tell me, I forget anything you did. You're very close to my face. That's a very close up. I've had someone. What?
Is it HD?
Yeah, no, it's not. None of it. Any makeup on. I've had people say to me something about their disease, and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I'm like, I sat in your office, we talked about it. I'm like, oh, I said, "You don't want me remembering that about you."
Right.
And I don't. I don't remember. If you tell me something horrific happened to you, 2 weeks later, I'll be like, "Hey, how are you?" I don't know. I don't remember. I really, genuinely don't remember. So, empathy, I don't want to put it on this list, but unless you're Leonard Nimoy.
Well, that's fine. I just wonder if there's a conscious decision to forget all these instincts and change your subconscious mind.
Yeah. Compassion works.
Determination.
Okay.
Generosity. Somebody said generosity.
Generosity is, oh, I didn't write it though. Generosity, determination, what else?
Integrity, forgiving.
Forgiveness, forgiving,
I like joy.
joyful,
Forgetful.
Loving.
I said positive.
And integrity.
Well, it is positive that you forget our stuff. You really just said that.
What about
Find
loving?
another way of saying that instead of forgetful.
Well,
Selective memory.
Selective.
No.
Well, you said
Loving.
Loving. Did no one say loving this whole time?
That's why I wanted to say
they're all thinking of
Loving.
Forget loving. Forget loving.
I'll say accepting, but also I'll say receptive.
Oh, that's very good.
Is forgiveness up there?
Passionate. What?
Oh,
Is forgiveness up there somewhere?
Yeah.
Yep. Didn't see it.
Sexual?
No, it's not what I said. Okay. I said sensual.
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 I can put sensual there. What else? Anything? Peaceful. Peaceful.
Serene.
Same thing.
Conscious.
How about awake?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. Are you all these things?
Yes.
All the time?
No.
Are you all these things all the time? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Well, I don't
You
remember
are all
that.
these things all the time. You just don't remember that you're all these things.
I'm just trying to figure out what's a positive way of saying that you forget our stuff.
You know what? Just
Clear, no?
clarity.
Clear? Okay.
Clarity.
Knowing the best.
That way I can forget the crap. Clarity means I have real clarity on everything. I can put clarity there, but that's the last one I'm putting.
Am I allowed to take a picture of
It's
that?
infinite. Yeah, you can. It's copyrighted. It's copyrighted, sure. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. In order to promote growth, you need to recognize the highest qualities. So look up here. What don't you? Who aren't you in here? And how do you cultivate it? How do you create that for yourself?
By allowing it.
By allowing? Yes. By allowing it out.
Really, James?
Sorry. By allowing it out, right? So go to the end of that paragraph on page 39. You need to get acquainted with the characteristics that make up that kind of life. Then get to work and cultivate them. That means you have to actually know that you are all of these things. You have to be willing to say, I am this, I am optimistic. So what if you're not optimistic? What if you're a pessimistic person? Is there any pessimistic people here tonight?
That time.
Are you pessimistic?
It's
Okay.
hard in high school to be a complete optimist.
Do you know how?
Devin, are you optimistic?
Yes.
It's not so hard. So,
Do you know how crappy teenagers are?
is anybody in here not a teenager? Did anybody hop, skip, and jump over teenage years?
Did anyone in here?
Okay, so here's what they're showing us.
And did we
The
know what
same
you guys knew?
generation.
No, here you go. Here's what they are showing us. You can always make an excuse for who you are because of something else. Even if it's just, I'm a teenager, so it's tough. No, what about I'm a teenager and it's not tough for me? It's how you use your mind. You bought into all that teenage years are hard, high school's hard, homework's hard, geometry's hard. If you knew that geometry was as easy and as simple as the ABCs, and you knew that,
It's not.
So, but here's the thing: the more we know it's hard, the harder it gets.
Right.
Right.
It's a profile. I remember when I turned 13, I said to my grandmother, "Don't call me a teenager," because we've got this preconceived notion
What a teenager is.
we've been gifted with, and we're supposed to like walk that path. And I was rejecting it on my 13th birthday.
Yeah, and I will tell you this: I was told when my children hit the teenage years, get ready,
Yeah.
and they were
Did
right.
you?
No, but they said, everyone said to me, when your kids become teenagers, they're not going to really want to be around you. They just suddenly don't care about it. It's just not true. They're 16. So it's just not true.
It's not true. Yeah.
It's not true. So let's not have it be true. So your inner divinity, qualities. Now, it's interesting. These are Ernest Holmes' qualities, which are not the ones I learned in my science model classes. But I love that he wrote it.
Yep.
So these are the qualities that Ernest Holmes talks about. Now, in those days, it was the qualities of God. Okay? That means my qualities. Life, love, wisdom, intelligence, peace, creativity, beauty, and joy. What I learned was love, life, light, 3 L's. Love, light, life. No. Love, I'm getting so confused there. So love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, and joy. 3 L's, 2 P's, and B and J. And a peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
So, life, love, wisdom, intelligence, peace, creativity, beauty, and joy. So, do you relate to all of those, and do you acknowledge them all as what you are, as who you are?
Yes.
Okay? And, by the way, and there's all of this. Because it's not okay anymore to just say, here are the qualities of God, and you must cultivate those. It's all God. And you get to decide what do you want to cultivate. How many people do you think in the world right now are cultivating pessimism? How many of you think are cultivating hatred?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It's a choice. You just get to decide. Okay. If you look at the bottom of page 40, he says, to attain all these things, meaning all these qualities, you must recognize that you have by nature the ability within yourself to attain them. And then you must cultivate those parts of your nature which will let these qualities develop in you. Ultimately, what that means is you don't get to behave opposite of these if you want to be living these. So you don't get to suddenly say, oh, I can't do that, I can't create that, I don't have any time. You don't get to do that. Not if you're cultivating this, not if you believe this about yourself. You don't get to say, oh, I don't have enough. No, I don't like to give to people. You know, or even the other side of that. I hate I'm not comfortable receiving. Oh my God. Ooh, really?
And so
send it to me. Right? So that's the deal. So going forward, you don't get to behave in a way that is contradictory to this and say at the same time, I am cultivating this. Be honest with yourself. Yes, Eric.
In a way, isn't it limiting to say that God is qualities like love and joy and peace? Because those are dualistic qualities that imply a relativity. There's opposite to each of those. So in reality, God is a good that is beyond our perception of good, or else God isn't even good at all. God is just whatever we make of
God
it.
is energy.
So to say God is love or peace or joy, and so
it's the old school.
When we cultivate those things, we're cultivating what God really is. It's not really what you're teaching now, right?
No, it's not.
Well, it's creative.
I mean, I'm still doing honor to Ernest Holmes, but
because he did kind of say that.
He said it right here.
That God is those qualities.
This is what God is.
Yeah.
But even though that's how it was presented and is still presented in most churches, the truth is, if you're going to go to the scientific part of this, I prefer knowing that it's God is energy. It's the thing itself. It's kind of how it started.
We don't fathom the how and the why,
Right.
but it's creative energy. I mean, it's not my choice. It's beyond my, pay level.
This is no, it is your pay level. It's just all choice. It's really just choice. What do you want to experience? Do you want to experience life, vibrant life? Do you want to experience love? Do you want to experience wisdom? Do you want to experience intelligence? Do you want to experience passion? Do you want to experience sensuality? What do you want to experience? We get to experience it. So really, and I like what you just said, Eric, we have to get away from calling it all good. This is all good because it means then this isn't good. It's not whether it's good or bad. I like to say this. Is it constructive or is it destructive? Does it expand me or does it diminish me? And I choose from there. And I get away from good and bad.
Well, in construction, they put me to work as an apprentice doing mostly demolition work.
That's
so, yeah, well, it's all about creation, creative energy. There's a lot of what calling bad that's involved with creative process. Whether it be demo work or
But see, demo work isn't bad.
No,
we have to destroy that.
That's right. I mean, we shouldn't sit in judgment. When I say the why and the how, I don't need to fathom all that. Got to hold on for the ride.
That's this part. Accepting, allowing, someone said. Okay, your infinite possibility, yes.
I just wanted to ask real quick about the part where what you just read, where it says to attain these things, you must recognize that you have by nature the ability within yourself to attain them. The attain part for me.
It's not a word that I would use.
It isn't, okay. Because it would be like allow.
To affirm them.
To allow or to affirm.
Allow them, to express them. Yes. Attain, again, we're doing some new writers.
Yeah. Okay.
We do.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Your infinite possibility, I'll be happy to do that. Your infinite possibility. The first step, page 41, the first step, you already have the God qualities you wish to cultivate and experience in everyday life. You have to acknowledge this. That's your first step. So Lynn, when you look at this, do you acknowledge that you have all this? You are all of this? And I bring that to you because you're so honest.
Deep down inside, yes, but I believe that some of it, this will be the wrong part. Some of it to me is not visible.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
It makes great sense, and
But
I
I'm
am
wrong.
so happy you said it. No, you're absolutely right. If you're at the point in your life where you can say, deep down inside, I know all of this is what I am, you are home free. Now it's just about choice. If you really know that, then have at it. And when you don't see it, pull out that page and write a treatment and just say, here's what I know. And get to work, combating, arguing for your truth. Because that is your truth and you know it deep down inside. Because I'd rather live from the deep down truth in my body and soul than the relative facts that sometimes, hijack.
Louder,
Yes.
This is a hypothetical question. I'm not saying it applies to myself. It's not gonna be something bad. But even if we're not living these things, even if we don't, I don't like the camera on me.
Look at me.
Even if we didn't know these things to be true, are they still true for us?
Yep. Ernest Holmes says, ignorance of the law excuses no one. Just because you pretend you don't know, it doesn't matter. This is working. This is working all the time. You can say, no, I don't believe this. I don't believe this. But if you really do, you get it.
So you could be knowing in your mind that all that's true, and if your conscious mind's trying to combat that, knowing what you know in your heart is going to ultimately come out.
Yes. Ultimately, the law responds to what you believe, not what you say.
Wait,
What
say that again?
basically says is all those things are those little specks in your subjective mind, and when they become that, they get filed away. If you're not constantly focused on them, they get filed away into the subconscious file cabinet. It's still there, right? That stuff still filters through.
Yes.
And I'm not what you're focused on.
And I'm hoping to get to that.
So it also does away with duality then. Because
Yes.
like all of that and more is inside, even if you're choosing, even if you're trying, you don't necessarily recognize it in the moment. It's all there still. So
But in
there
the
you
end,
go.
it's really about this. None of this matters. It matters. This is what matters. What are you consciously going to decide? It doesn't matter how much crap is in here. You can consciously know the truth and it all goes away. That's what we're saying. There has to be a belief. You can't just say it. I am now wealthy. No, you're not. What do you believe, Rachel?
How do you change your beliefs if you're like really stuck?
I will get to that. And I will help you with that. But I'll get to that. Okay. Your infinite possibility. If you look at the second paragraph, the last line, I look for these all the time in his writings. God is what you are. It can't be any clearer than that. It's just the same thing as saying, I am God. God is what you are. And then, I love this, bottom of 41. This kind of answers your question, Rachel. Do not now concentrate your attention on what you want to get rid of. Instead, devote your efforts primarily to the development of the good qualities you already possess but have not been using. So when you want to change a belief, you have to find out what you believe and then argue for the truth of it. If you believe that you're not good enough, or you believe that, I don't have what it takes, then you go back to knowing the truth. And if you come from that first step of understanding it's all God, therefore that's who I have to be, how could you possibly be less than? So that's how you change the belief. You got to argue for it. Just like, if I'm going to change your mind, if you think something about me and I want to change your mind about me, what am I going to do? I'm going to argue for the truth. I'm going to argue and tell you, no, this is who I am. This is the truth of who I am. I know you think I'm this, but this is who I am. That's what we do in our mind. I know you think you believe that, but this is really the truth, and I have proof. Here's why. Okay, think only of your goal. So what he's talking about here is the ability for you not to get caught up in all the stuff that you don't want. And really, what you focus on expands. So what do you want to focus on?
What you want.
Right. The quick and effective way to eliminate anything you don't want is to disregard it and turn your attention and interest to what is directly opposite. That's what treatment is. Find out what it is that's going wrong or that you don't like, and then turn it around and know the truth about it. Okay, creativity at the center of you. You will not accomplish, I love this. Page 45, he says, the second paragraph, you will not accomplish all of this in 1 week. Or 1 day, or 1 month. You will not. You will not get all these things and turn your whole life around and get it that you are God until you do. And so he says, so don't analyze too closely. Just go ahead and grow. And I love that. Don't fight it. What you fight, you keep. Don't fight with yourself. Just allow yourself to be. So go to page 46. The first question here was, do you understand how self-consciousness, with its power of choice, puts the responsibility for your further progress on you? Who answered that question? What did you write?
With self-consciousness, I'm aware that I'm aware relative to the animals which may be dreaming, or the plants which may be sleeping. I think I got that.
Say it again.
Relative to the animals which may be dreaming, I'm aware that I'm aware relative to the animals which may be dreaming, or the plants which may be sleeping, likening myself to the adult in the room. My stewardship in the infinite realm of spirit relies upon this self-consciousness, and as such I bless.
Okay. Very, very poetic. What does it mean? What are you saying?
Well, it's just reflecting, or actually remembering what I've read through, and this is just so empowering to me, understanding this self-consciousness, making me responsible, as the quote adult in the room, for lack of a better.
Actually, I like that idea. As the adult in the room now, I'm responsible. Yeah, that's great. The adult, you have spiritually adulted yourself.
Yeah,
You've grown up and understood.
I get to be the master. You go around thinking like people go, ignorance is bliss. Well, the complete saying, if ignorance is bliss, then folly is sublime. And they don't remember the entire statement. The
whole statement.
Yeah, and ignorance is not bliss. What we're talking about here is
ignorance of the law, right?
And Aristotle is saying that ignorance is no excuse.
Nope.
We need to take. We're given all of these traits, if that, and whether they're dormant or being applied. We're still.
They're still there.
Yep.
So the question really is about, do you really get it that when you use your conscious mind, you are responsible for everything that's happening?
It's empowering.
Yeah, it's very empowering. So the third one, but
in going along with that, you're responsible for how you use your conscious mind. As science and mind, do we believe in the concept of stewardship?
In what way?
If we replace God as an outside being as God within ourselves in that Catholic sense, we're responsible for the treatment of the earth and the animals.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the collective consciousness. Mankind as a collective consciousness is responsible for the way they treat and use our planet.
Where does that responsibility come from?
Because what I'm love your questions. Because what I'm explaining here is just the microcosm of the macrocosm. This is the way the entire universe works. The universe is a thinking energy. It thinks through everyone. So as the universe thinks through everyone, the atmosphere of all thought turns into some form of creative energy that creates form. So it behooves everyone in this room to put their mind to work on peace, world peace.
Yeah, how's it that conscience, let my conscience be my guide, arrives of this consciousness, this mind.
Right, let my conscience be
what a thing, conscience, let my conscience be my guide. Conscience, I didn't ask for that,
Right.
But
we don't
it only
talk much
supports
about conscience. We don't talk much about conscience. We talk about consciousness.
I know, but conscience is like the good of all and all in one.
Conscience.
Such,
Yeah, I'm not going to get into conscience.
Yeah.
I will get into that. But do you understand my answer?
No.
Okay. If everyone in this room, let's just talk. Okay. Everyone in this room is going to get a decision on what's going to happen to this little puppy we found. Okay. Now there are 30 people in this room and online. Okay. There are 30 people. 26 of those people decide that the dog, nobody wants it, it should be put to death. And it's going to be put to death. Yes? Because half of the room, most of the room decided it'd be best to put it down. That's the collective consciousness of the room. So that's what's going to happen. It happened to that puppy, right? Really? You're going to go along with that?
Well, from what you just said, I'm
No,
not sure where
but
you're
will
going.
you go along with that?
No.
So what would you do? Hold on, guys, I make a point. So what would you do?
Personally, from what I believe is right and fair, I would try to save that puppy.
How would you do that?
Try to convince the others.
You can't. They're done. What are you going to do?
Take the puppy. And
Great.
fly.
So he's going to take the puppy, and therefore the conscious in the room just changed. It just shifted. Everyone in the room, there was a resolution. That one mind changed the consciousness of the room. They were like, okay, great. So that's that problem solved. Let's move on.
Yeah. From what
That's how powerful your one consciousness can be.
And because of
it-
that is why we have the responsibility.
Because of that, it's why if everyone in this room put their mind on world peace,
Yeah.
the powerful mind, one powerful mind, could make that happen.
I agree with that.
That's how this all works.
I agree with that, and I think that would be awesome if that happened. But how is that a responsibility, and where does that responsibility that we would have to do it?
It's not a responsibility if you don't take it on,
Right.
but you have to know whether you take on the responsibility or not, whether you agree to be the adult in the room or not. You are. You are. That's how it works. So you can pretend you're not responsible for the world, the global picture, but we all are. So that's how that works. But I got no more questions going. I keep going. So, no, I want God. What's the other thing? Not you. You've asked 1,000. I got it. But hold on. I've got to try to get through my material. Nancy has a whole chapter to do.
I still don't get where the responsibility comes from.
Because it's a science. If I throw water on the floor, it gets wet. So my responsibility is not to throw water on the floor unless I want to live on a wet floor. It's that simple.
So
Is it self then? Is
it's
it
a responsibility to ourselves?
It's a responsibility to the universe, but it's a responsibility to yourself. But here's the thing. If you go back to the number one lesson of this, oneness, there is no such thing as just yourself. And that's the problem. We haven't really cracked the understanding of oneness so fully that we realize that what is done to me, it's what Jesus taught, what is done unto me is done unto all people. And when I get that, I am now responsible to live at the highest level of my own consciousness and to make sure that I live out all of this. And that's a responsibility because I recognize I am one with all of it.
It's a responsibility to oneself.
To oneness.
Okay.
As responsibility to the one of which I am. David?
The word responsibility is one that's often misunderstood because we perceive it as a burden. I am so responsible. But when you take it up and break it down to its component parts, it suddenly becomes response-able. I'm able to respond to whatever the situation is. So in the case of the poor puppy that was about to be destroyed, you became able to respond to that by grabbing the puppy and running. That was your choice. You became response-able, contrary to what the group consensus had been.
So, and I agree with you, but I think he's asking, why are we responsible? I think he understands responsibility, but I think he's saying, why?
So
why are we responsible?
So is it more of a sense of responsibility to, I guess, a common ideal?
Yes, and I believe that the responsibility we're talking about, which is not just the ability to respond, but why do I have to respond? Right? What makes me respond? I believe what makes us not respond is all the crap we put in the way of understanding who we are. Which takes me perfectly to the next chapter, which is called You Are in Charge. And the first thing is know thyself. And the problem is most of us don't know thyself as God.
If that's us, if that's
Yes.
knowing ourselves,
We don't, not yet. So the interrelationship of our mind, body, and emotions is what we're looking at here. Who are you? He says at the bottom of 47, all is spirit, spirit is mind, mind is one. There is no separation between God and you except to the degree that you think you are separated. Now here's what's interesting. Devin. You are in God mind. You are of God mind. You are God mind, made manifest in human form. However, we don't see ourselves that way. We see ourselves as something else. And it's very much like the story of the shadows that Devin is going to do in 1 minute. Do a real fast one. I asked you to do this. You're like, what? You know, this is a surprise.
Forgot about this.
I know. You can tell them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What am I doing again?
Tell the story.
Story.
Yeah.
The allegory.
Yeah. The allegory of the shadows.
Okay.
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 And go.
So there's this allegory from Plato way back in ancient Greece. It's this really simple yet complex metaphor of basically how everything is and how we perceive it. Where like what the situation is, there are a bunch of people in prison, or they are chained to a wall in a cave underground, and just chained so that the only thing they can do since birth is to just stare at a wall that is having shadows projected onto it from a fire that's behind them that they can't see. So all their lives, you don't really think about whether they ate or not. It's just the it's not perfect metaphor. All their life, they've just been looking at these shadows of things that they don't really understand because they haven't seen the actual objects. They just see the shadows. So all their life, they think that the shadows are real. From what we know, they're just shadows. They're not the actual objects. But from what they know, it's all real. And then one guy somehow gets up and turns around, sees the fire and how bright it is and all the objects, and then sees the exit and walks outside and sees the whole world and nature and probably a city, and just sees all that and goes, whoa, this is so much more stuff than I've ever known. Goes back into the cave and tells everybody else that there's all this other stuff that is real and what they've been seeing their whole life. Everything you know is a lie. And I'm right because I just walked outside. And they think he's insane. And in the story, they kill him. Because they were very passionate about what they thought they knew, which we all know was not. So it's how passionate they were of what they thought they knew just because they had known it all their lives.
So, I would be the guy that gets killed. And what's important is to realize that we're all still staring at a wall, thinking we understand the images we're seeing. And our job is to turn around and actually turn, I don't like to say turn within, but to allow something within us to take over. So you all get that metaphor. So when Ernest Holmes is saying you are God, and you still think you're the shadow. So let's talk about habits for a moment. You all get it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the importance of habits. Give me a good habit.
Cheerfulness.
Cheerfulness is a habit. Who said that?
I do.
Okay. Do you have a habit of being cheerful?
When I go out in the morning, I tell myself to be cheerful. That doesn't always happen.
Okay. But you're making it a habit.
Right.
Great. What else? Give me some positive habits.
Exercise.
Okay. I habitually exercise. Good. Okay. What else?
Meditation.
What is it? Gratitude. Okay. What?
Meditation.
Meditation.
Positive outlook.
A positive outlook is a habit. Okay. What else?
Kindness.
Work.
Brush your teeth.
Is work a good habit?
Well, if you
What kind
don't,
of work?
well, like cleaning up after yourself, and, like I'm in the habit now of like wiping down counters and just cleaning things.
So
up.
making the world around you
Hygienic.
hygienic, clean. Okay. Give me some bad habits. Forgetting things. Smoking.
Yeah.
Lying.
Drugs.
Lying.
Drugs.
Nail biting.
What? Nail biting.
Rationalizing.
Rationalizing. Judging.
Pessimism.
Pessimism. David?
Lack of forgiveness.
Lack of forgiveness.
Opposite of everything on that board.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much it. Opposite of everything. Okay, so what do you think is easier to create? A good habit or a bad habit?
Not bad.
Bad habit? Easier to create?
Yeah,
Why do you think?
It's like a security blanket.
Uh-huh.
You feel safe. It covers the bad habits.
How does a habit happen? How does a habit happen?
Not thinking about it.
Because you allow it to.
Sometimes.
It at some point created something in form that
It's this, yeah.
benefited you.
It's this.
Yeah.
There's how a habit happens. It just keeps going round and round and round. My whole teaching is based on that 21-day, I can change your mind in 21 days if you'll do it for 21 days. Because the neural pathways in your mind, after 30 days, you've actually created something in your mind. You created a connection between that which it is you are doing and that which it is you wish to experience. Smoking relieves, and you create this gully. It's called the neural pathway. Scientifically in your mind, and once that's there, you got to work really hard to get it out, and it gets thicker and thicker after, like my Aunt Carol, 78 years of smoking. She can't even conceive of. She's about to. They've told her you're going to die. It's killing you. Your insides are black. She doesn't care. I can't get rid of it. Can't get rid of it. And she knows that. She believes that, and there it is. So habits are nothing more. One is not easier or harder. Bad habits seem easier because they seem less conscious. It seems they're less conscious, but they're not. You consciously decided to smoke at some point, and then with all the warnings, you consciously did it again. And now, after you do it enough, you've created this because the smoking is giving you some demonstration. Habit creates a demonstration. Yes.
Okay, you use, this is just one example, but honestly, are you saying that sitting on the couch eating chips is
A habit?
just as easy as doing the treadmill for a half an hour at 5 miles an hour?
Yes. However,
Come on, the couch is a lot easier.
it is done unto you as you believe. To be honest with you, for me, laying on the couch with potato chips just doesn't work. I would do it for.
But for most people, come on.
I am most people.
No, you're not. It's not.
No, but yeah, Scott.
I was just gonna say, the act of doing it is not easier than creating the habit.
Yes, it is.
I'm
being
But that's your belief.
It is easier for me to sit on the couch and eat the chips
What if I
rather
told
than do the 5 mile an hour, whatever,
5 miles an hour?
fast on the treadmill or
Okay.
whatever. You know what I mean? For a half an hour.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What if I said to you, for me, for yourself, for 21 days, do the other one. See
No,
what
I'm not saying I can't do it.
I know.
But the treadmill is not as easy as the couch potato.
I know you think that.
I know that.
You believe that. No, you believe that.
I'm not saying I can't do it.
I know,
But
but
one
you
is
believe
easier than
that it's
the
easier
other.
because you believe it.
Well, and then also,
Because for me, that would not be easy. I would be so bored, I would be out of my mind within 10 minutes.
you're watching your favorite TV show.
I love watching TV shows. I also spend the time at the gym. I
But
need
then
to
you
for my
wouldn't be
body.
bored on the couch watching your
Yeah,
favorite
but you're saying one or the other. You're pitting those two against each other. I'm not. I do them both.
Well, you said one's easier than the other.
No, I do.
they're both easy.
No. I'm saying they're all the same. One seems easier because if it's a bad habit, you seem to think it's not self-conscious, but it is. I'm actually arguing with you. No,
But then also too, wouldn't the bad habit seem easier because it's the one that's gonna need the less change from what you're already doing?
It's gonna need a lot of change.
It's no
Bad.
continuing to do the bad habit if you're already doing it.
I think we're
it
getting
seems
into
easier because
semantics,
it's too much.
easy and hard. The point
They're the
is,
same.
habits, they're all the same. Habits come from conscious thoughts. And habits get broken by conscious thoughts.
I was going to suggest that sometimes it appears to us that a bad habit is easier to do because we're unconscious of it. In order to create those, sometimes we're just unconsciously doing them, and it just seems easier because we didn't actually put the mental effort into doing it. Where with exercise and reading and sitting yourself down to meditate and all of that stuff, you're taking some conscious effort to do it. So it just seems a little harder because you're actually putting effort into it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm not going to buy into it, but it sounds good.
Because it does take consciousness.
It does take consciousness to do anything, but it really just takes the mental equivalent of saying yes. We have grown up in a society that tells us it is hard to break a habit. We have grown up in a society that has an A for everything.
Shadows.
There is shadows. We have been told addictions are impossible to break. There is there are so many rooms in this city right now with people sitting there in the midst of their habits, not doing them, biting their nails, just trying not to do it and staying sober, but they're not living their life.
Yeah.
Because they've still been taught that this is impossible. And I'm not saying anything. If you're in a 12-step
breaking
program,
habits becomes a habit.
the anonymous rooms become habits in and of themselves.
Yes.
I'm addicted to the 12-step program.
Yeah.
I'm not, but it can be. Again, 12-step programs work. But I believe 12-step programs work if you use them as the stepping stone. And what's after the 12-step program? You better get to oneness. You better get to your power. You better get to stop believing you're powerless. Guys, you're powerful, not powerless.
Yeah, man.
And you have to get there. So it's a great stepping stone. So we have to stop believing then that it's harder work going to the gym and leading a healthy life than it is to just lay on the couch and have potato chairs. That's just a belief, because there are going to be people that tell you that's not their belief. It's your belief. And it's an overwhelming
I'm sure
belief.
there are some people that's like a personal trainer, and it would be a lot harder for them to sit on the couch than to do that treadmill.
right.
I agree with that.
I'm just saying it's a belief. If
I
you don't
agree
want the
with
belief,
that.
you can change it. Yes, David.
There's also an element that hasn't been mentioned, and that's desire.
Well, that's what I just said. If you want to, you can change it. If you want to change your belief, you will change it. So one more thing before Reverend Nancy comes up here. We talked about this already tonight, which is the seed of memory, your memories. I want to reiterate, because it's the next chapter. Your memories have no power. They have no power. What has happened to you in your life has no power. None whatsoever. The only power your memories have are what you give them. Because memories are nothing. It's nothing. However, what you bring with the memory is what is the issue. So when you understand the seed of memory, it still behooves you to understand that every time you bring a memory up, I'm going to bring this memory up. This is when my father beat me so hard they almost had to take me to the hospital. There it is. That's a real memory of mine. I still love my father. He grew up in a time when he thought that's how cops treated their kids. They beat them with their cop belts, which were about that thing. Okay, and I was a very skinny little boy. I flunked geography, history, and science. Was not happy with that. In one report card. So I have a little sympathy for it. No empathy, but a little sympathy. So here goes, right? So I bring that up. What's the memory? What's the power it has over me? For me, none anymore. None.
People have a different sort of embellish.
But for me, 10 years ago, a lot.
Yeah, you can embellish that and get a lot of.
And that would take me down to here to experience a feeling of rage and anger against my father. So what changed? What took this memory and changed it? And I'll be really honest with you. I didn't do a lot of healing work around my father. I didn't do a lot of forgiveness work around my father. I filled my consciousness with truth. And the more the truth goes in, the more the dirt goes out. And then when it comes up, what's left is love. And you get who the man was. You realize you're still standing here, you're fine. Sammy?
So, like an example, a bucket full of dirt, and
Yes.
you fill water into it until the dirt just rises up and flows out.
Yes. And that's what Ernest Holmes is talking about in the second chapter here, which is, are you willing to focus on what you want? Stop focusing on what you don't want. Are you willing to start creating from the truth of who you are? And stop creating from the facts of who you were. So you can create from the truth of who you are or the facts of who you were. Yes.
Is it okay?
Answer. Yeah.
Is it okay to give a memory power in the pursuit of living your highest self within those and the many more traits that you embody in your deepest knowing? Like, it's okay to say, these memories may not make me who I am, but I recognize these memories, these select ones, as contributing to who I am.
Yes. That contributed to who I was.
Yeah.
And you've benefited from it because this memory contributed to my knowing the type of father I wanted to be. So, yeah, very much so.
I like it, like memories or your experiences. It's a place of reference, not residence.
I love that.
Oh, that's nice.
So this next chapter is about emotions, which Nancy took. So
Okay.
The very first sentence on page 57, the special attribute which self-consciousness gives us is the power of choice. So why is the power of choice the greatest attribute that we can have?
Well, because it empowers us, I think.
Okay, how does it empower us?
Because now we know we have choice as opposed to being stuck in and having to keep doing what it is that wasn't working.
Okay.
Or even what was working. So we get to choose what is whatever.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. At the bottom of that page, it says you are free to choose, but you have to take the consequences of that choosing.
Word.
That's not about blame. It's not about judgment. It's not about punishment. It's about the law of cause and effect. It's about we have the responsibility to make our choices. We make them. We're free to make any choice we want to make. We're free to sit on the couch and eat potato chips until hell freezes over. Or we can decide to get off the couch and try something different. We're not going to be punished if we sit on the couch and eat potato chips. Not because we made that choice, but the potato chips, that's going to be our reality. That's the reality we've chosen until we make a new choice. We're not punished for what we do, but by what we do.
Yeah.
Not for what we do, which is the old, Christian Catholic ethic, but by what we do. We're either benefited or not by our choices, and it's all free, and there's no blame in that either. But we can notice notice the results that we got from the choice that we made, and go, I woke up with a stomachache and ate that whole bag. I feel so good this morning. I'm going to try something different tonight. You know what I'm saying? So it's not for our choices, but by them. On the next page, middle of the paragraph, too often a negative emotional reaction directs our decisions rather than a process of logical or reason or conscious thinking. So what that means is you're in a bad mood, somebody does something wrong, you make a snap decision, and you've actually brought something into your life, whether you replied in an angry way, You lost your temper. You said stuff you really didn't want to say. We wish you could take it back. But that goes into this too. That goes into that too. So that's why we really have to be conscious all the time, because guess what? We're always choosing. Hundreds of times every day, we're choosing constantly. And just that is a choice, you know, and all of that goes into here. And Ernest Holmes says in The Science of My textbook, and I'm not quoting it exactly, that the human mind cannot stop thinking and the law can't stop creating. What it's going to create depends on where our consciousness is most of the time. Where do we dwell most of the time in consciousness? Okay? So then under everything according to law, what we are deeply feeling is usually what you're establishing in mind as cause and is the pattern for what you will receive. So when we often put a lot of angst into something that we're against, something that we really hate, beating our children, people who beat their kids. We can put a lot of negative emotion, anger, into something that we don't like. But then when we turn around and want to work on the positive opposed to that, we may not put that same amount of energy into it or that same amount of feeling into it. We tend to get very, very passionate about our causes. But we want to be passionate about what we're for instead of what we're against. It's easy to get really passionate about what we see in the world that we feel is so wrong, that we want to change. But the way to do it is not to get in that boat, but rather to focus on one thing. Instead of deriding 26 people who want to kill the puppy and going, spending the next 30 minutes on how in the hell could you kill this puppy, walk over, pick up the thing, and take it home. And that they're all choices. But we don't realize that we're really choosing every moment of every day. And every one of those choices goes into here and makes up the composite of the life that we're living. And one of the things I read today is the life that you're living right now, what we're doing right now, the choices we're making right now is the life we're going to live tomorrow, next week, next month. Because we're planting all the time. And then it goes on to talk about the garden. So if you decide you're going to do a victory garden in the empty lot next door, you don't just go over and throw seeds around. You got a lot of work to do first. And it relates it to the law. If there's junk in here, we want to find out what it is and get rid of it. When I run up against the same thing again and again, I go, oh, wait a minute. This is a pattern. What's going on here? And then I want to notice it and I want to clean it up. It happened the other day. I noticed I was reluctant calling this person 2 or 3 times. I thought, why did you call something? No. I think I should call. No. So I called the person up and I said, something going on here. Let's talk about it. Because I need to clean it up. So it's important. The awareness is what Reverend James had over here before. Awareness has to come first before knowing. Let's see where we are. So it talks about the fact that you can plant carrots and cabbages and all this kind of stuff, and the same soil will produce all the different stuff, exactly the same stuff. Guess what? Exactly the same soil is going to produce happiness or misery, prosperity or lack, health or the lack of health, by what we plant in it. It's just as impersonal as the soil is. It's going to give us back exactly what we put into it. And that's all based on our beliefs. But we can change those beliefs. But we have to become aware of them first. If we're aware that we bought into something that race consciousness says it's hard, or I'm too old, or I don't have the right education, or I don't have the money, or I can't buy a house, or the economy's going in the toilet, or whatever, we buy into that stuff. That's what we're going to be reaping because we're buying into it. But we don't have to. We can make a different choice. I love this on the top of 59, in the middle of the paragraph. All seeds bring forth according to their nature. And this is the point. You knew that they would. When you planted your stuff, you knew that the carrot seeds were going to come up as carrots and the cabbage was going to come up as cabbage. So that's how we have to plant in our spiritual garden. That's how we have to plant the seeds, knowing that I can't plant carrots and get cabbages. I can't plant resentment and reap peace in my heart. It's not going to happen. It's going to cook and it's going to boil and it's going to get bigger and it's going to get nasty and I'm going to tell people about it. If I want to experience peace in my body, in my mind, in my soul, in my spirit, that's what I have to plant. And if I have a resentment that's long-standing, I need to figure out how to clean it up. Any questions? Yeah.
How does one plant the peace?
How does one plant peace?
Yeah, like if you're saying you don't want to, like if you're feeling resentment but you want peace, you have to plant the peace. How would you do that?
The first thing I would do is figure out where the resentment's coming from and clean it up. Because it's in me and I'm experiencing it. So I need to figure, I want the awareness. I want the awareness that there's something going on in me that's not peaceful. So in order for me to experience the peace, I need to figure out what that is and eliminate it. For me.
Yeah, it's like a broken record, resentment.
Yeah.
Re-experiencing the sentience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Skip.
And I love that I don't remember who said it, that hating someone is like carrying, or resentment is like carrying a little vial of poison around in your pocket, and every time you hate them, you take it out, you take a little sip, and then you wait for them to die. And who are you poisoning? This is where your consciousness is, over here. That person doesn't know anything about what's going on in you. They're going around living a happy life, and you're miserable because you've chosen not to let it go. And some of that old,
So how would you suggest then to, because what you're saying is a little bit opposite of what he's saying in the book, which is you don't need to pull up the resentment and do anything about it. You just need to love. You do not need it. But I also understand what she's saying, because I don't think there's a person in the room that doesn't want to handle and deal with something like that when it comes up. So the question is, how do you deal with it? How do you handle it without expanding it?
Forgive.
Yeah.
Yes, but forgiveness is the byproduct, right? How are you dealing with it? You got the resentment. You resent someone.
Forgiveness.
You're going to deal with. How do you deal with that resentment? I just want to hear your point on this.
How do you deal with the resentment?
Yeah, you said I'm going to clean up that resentment.
Yeah.
How?
Right. I need to know. For me, I need to know where it came from, and then I need to address that and heal it in my own self, so I can let it go.
Okay.
It started somewhere up here.
Right.
And it's been going around for a while. And this is it, and I have to clean it up.
So now it's in the middle, because whatever it was is in your memory.
Right. Now it's in the memory.
But do you believe that you always have to find the belief in order to heal it?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're just saying this is how you do it.
This is how I would do it.
Okay.
In the area of resentment. Spiritual mind treatment goes straight to cause. It bypasses all of that and goes straight to cause.
But I think.
Yes.
Say something.
Yes.
I think sometimes, like, just putting stuff in there, I mean, for me, I gotta get it out. Otherwise, I'm just stuffing it and it's fluffy bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I have to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that you like kind of look at it and like
purge the stuff.
Purge it.
Yeah.
And that's what the purpose is on the top of your thing.
Yeah.
Your sheet.
Yeah.
To look at it. Mm-hmm. What is it? What do I want to do about it? Then you put in the truth. And that's what Nancy said.
Yeah.
I had a resentment someone really got over on me, for like a year I was just hating. And then I realized this person is just a common criminal, nothing special. And then I felt sorry for him, And it's a process, I don't have to go about that hate anymore. When it came to me in those words, a common criminal, nothing special, I realized that, we all have, I'm not going to speak for you.
The person or the issue?
The person.
Okay.
And I felt sympathy, maybe empathy.
But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You probably did. What are you gonna do when someone? What are you gonna do when the person that resents you is the Pope? Who's not a common criminal. He's not saying this.
That's sophisticated.
But somebody nice, somebody that you love, and you have a resentment against them. You cannot logically bring them down lower in order to
I can't make this was a family.
I get it, but he was still a common criminal.
Yeah, a common criminal. I just didn't. I was kept. I mean, as a child, he was considered a rebel or whatever.
Right.
You know. And it was never dealt. It was just, this is his deficit. It's his hoe he gets to row.
Yeah.
Row he gets to hoe.
Well, what I'm suggesting is that if we use that line of thinking, we're in a hit and miss situation.
Yeah.
If I can release my resentment on Joselito because he's an idiot and I don't care about him and he's stupid and nobody likes him anyway, then that's easy. That's easy. But if it's really Joselito, how am I going to get rid of my resentment when everyone loves him and he does nothing wrong? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's my fault. So when you get involved in the world of form, you're not going to be able to heal. You just keep expanding.
It's messy.
Right. So I don't think what Nancy's saying is that we have to get involved in doing that kind of stuff. But we do have to bring it up. We have to acknowledge it before we can do anything with it.
And the other thing is too, why would we want to allow that person to rob our joy?
Yeah.
Right. I just
Why would
don't
we?
get around
That's
this
giving them
person
power.
and don't
It's
hurt
giving
them.
our what?
I just don't go around this person. I would not want to get involved in a conversation with him because
No,
I
you
know
don't
what
have
he
to.
is.
That's a choice.
I'm not going to change him.
No, and he's not going to change you because
I
you
can-
know
I can
who you
still-
are.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
you know
exactly.
who you
But
are.
for a minute there, he had me under his thumb. It's like, oh, you're vulnerable, and he was doing his deal.
Okay. So,
I'm sorry, Devin.
Can you clean up? So can you clean up the resentment by, I guess, loving it or at least accepting it? Is that how you would clean it up?
one of the ways I think I do it is forgive myself for resenting someone.
That's interesting.
Because otherwise you live in the womb.
Yeah, right. Right? Does that work for you?
That makes sense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not higher consciousness, but it's going back to who are we really and what attributes do we have within to call upon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So compassion, optimism, joy, love, forgiveness.
Which is next.
Which is next. Which is next.
Because we have to. We're
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're running out of time. Well, we've already said you're always planting something. And we can't afford to plant thoughts of negation, worries, because the law, I've already said that, on page, what is that? 61, on page 61, the bottom of that first paragraph, your subjective mind level, the creative medium of law, also is entirely impersonal, just like the soil, and will just as readily take your negations and produce for you a crop of illness, poverty, hardship, difficulty, and in harmony. So be careful about your planting. It's impersonal. It's just the soil. It's going to give you what you plant into it. When you put in a lot of doubts and negativity, that's what you're going to reap. That's what it's trying to tell us while it uses the garden here. Then it talks about inferiority and superiority. Inferiority, I love what I did here. I was looking for this. In the third paragraph down, it says one thing that often has to be removed is a sense of inferiority. All you really need to get rid of is the realization, all you really need to get rid of it is the realization that you are God. And I've been saying that you are God, and I didn't realize I had scribbled out the little comma and the S and child. So I didn't even realize it was saying you are God's child. I just wrote you are God. And I think that's been in there for all this time. I was looking at that because I didn't realize, and then right after it says what he wrote and what Reverend James read earlier in the book. God is what you are. God is what you are. So how could you be inferior to anything or superior to another being who is also all of it? All of this. How could you be superior or inferior to any other being in this room or on the planet who is all of this?
Mm-hmm. It's almost
Even the relative that you're calling just a common criminal, not a
but
special
inferior
person.
and superior really in its righteous sense is like fore and aft, like before or ahead. Not judging its value as good or bad, but it's more of a, like inferior is like to the rear. Like I would be inferior to him, he's 12 years older than me. So he's inferior. But only it's chronological, it's not judging merit.
Okay, I get that. So that's that part, and then going to forgiving yourself. This is about self-condemnation. So children a lot of times were raised with a lot of bad, a lot of punishment, a lot of wrongdoing, and all we wanted to do was please. As little ones, all we wanted to do is please. And so we feel that condemnation from the parents, sometimes we transfer that to God or even transfer it over here. So now I don't need anybody to speak badly about me if I do it for myself. So my mother, I felt like I had to earn my mother's love, and I had to be perfect to do that. And if I didn't do that, she was disappointed in me. So what I noticed a few years ago was when I didn't get the part, I would be disappointed in myself. So that awareness came around that that's what I was doing. I had transferred her condemnation to me, and I was doing it to myself. I didn't need anybody to be disappointed in me. I was already punishing myself. And we do those things. We just have to become aware of it when it shows up so that we can let it go, recognize what it is. Just an old habit, it's just an old pattern, and just let it go. And love ourselves. It's so important to love ourselves. And he says, be kind to yourself over here. Anyway, all that. Back to false sense of guilt. That's what we just talked about. Transfer to God. Oh, so let's go to the questions. The first question, write clearly your understanding and the necessity of cleansing your subjective mind. So who could read what they wrote in that book after question 1? Write your understanding of the necessity of cleansing your subjective mind. What's the purpose? What's the need? What's the need, though?
I wrote, for seeds to grow, we must prepare the soil and keep it nourished.
Say that again.
For seeds to grow, we must prepare the soil and keep it nourished.
And how do you prepare the soil?
Positive thoughts, meditation, spiritual practices.
Okay. Anybody else? Who else wants to read theirs? Yeah.
Unless you read your mind of thoughts that do not serve you, you will plant these seeds into the law, the soil, and you will not end up with the desired result.
Cool. One more? Yeah.
I didn't write mine, but the answer would be for me right now after today's class is to get all the dirt out by putting in all the clean water.
Yeah.
So that's all there is, and I'm not really leaving room for mixed messages.
Okay. So it talks about conscience, and I didn't mention that, but we all know when we've done something that's against our own integrity, and it's important to clean that up. But there's these false, the difference in ridding ourselves of a sense of false restrictions, which we've been holding on for years, that happens in childhood a lot. We all have them. We've all had them. We don't have them now, but we all have had them. So just be aware if that stuff comes up, that you know how to deal with it. And then two ways in which some emotions are of value in your life. Just two emotions that that you value in your life?
Nancy, before you go there, I want to talk about emotions for a second.
Okay.
So one of the things we didn't cover here in this chapter is because the chapter is called
Directing your emotions.
Directing your emotions.
Right.
So it's very important for you to understand what are your emotions. So some people think that emotions just happen upon them, and they just suddenly are emotional. But your emotions are the natural response of your feelings, and your feelings are the natural response of your thoughts, and your thoughts are the natural response of your beliefs. So your emotions trace themselves right back to here, to conscious mind, to the beliefs that you have. So what he's saying in this whole chapter is, in order for you to direct your emotions, you have to be aware of what your emotions are. And most of us take emotions as something that is so overwhelming. Aren't you overwhelmed sometimes by your emotions?
Yeah.
Where it takes you on a journey. It's like all of a sudden I just am this way. And in order to direct your emotions, you have to understand what they are and where they're coming from. So, what was the question? What was the last question?
Actually, the
describe 2 ways.
Yep.
In which some emotions are of great value in your life. That would mean to pay attention to an emotion that is attached to a belief that is serving you.
Tears of gratitude.
Tears of gratitude. So you see somebody crying, you're like, "Are you okay?" Yes. This emotion is attached to a grateful heart that is overwhelmed with the glory of love.
Just reading this morning about Thanksgiving and the treatment, and I was like struck. And I wasn't even out of bed yet. Reduced tears.
So give me another one besides joys of Thanksgiving. What else could you have? What other emotion?
Love for my daughter.
Love.
Yeah.
Love. That's the number one.
The very
number one answer.
Love.
Survey said
Love.
love. So that's good. I just didn't want you to ask that question without going back to say why are these emotions, because that's what's very important. The idea of the emotions.
And there's one quote on 64 that I wanted to share, and I think it's one of the most important in the book, in this chapter rather. In the second paragraph. The conscious mind must learn to sit in the driver's seat and direct what takes place. Emotions must be controlled. The emotions must be controlled. If we are to be successful gardeners, we must see to it that the right kind of planting is done. We must learn to rule our own lives. The conscious mind must learn to sit in the driver's seat and not let the emotions drive us to make decisions, anything of that nature. What? Oh, yeah. So, what are 2 ways that emotions create difficulties in your life?
Jealousy or
fear.
Jealousy.
With judgment.
Fear is jealousy, I guess, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, everything's fear.
Yeah.
Everything is either fear or love.
Right.
And the machinations of those two.
Well, mine is like I'm not the chosen one. Like I'm not special. I'm not loved or.
What emotion would that be?
Fear. I mean, yeah, like you're not accepted. You're not. Like I wrote, I'm not the chosen one. I'm not chosen in circle of people. I'm not chosen in work situations to be the golden child. I'm not chosen to get the better opportunities. Blah blah blah. That's what I wrote.
Okay.
What's
that fear? And what's that
feeling,
emotion?
Good enough. Feeling
not being good enough. We're not being good enough.
Okay.
So that's an insecurity.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You all good?
Yeah.
Questions?
Yeah.
Anything about tonight? Questions? A lot was covered.
Yeah.
Especially this. This, to me, I wanted you to walk away with secondary first cause, because I want you to see how you're using your mind. Yes.
So on that, basically, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I got from that is what most of us are doing, with the exception of them maybe to some extent, is we're all kind of working from secondary. Right? Because
Except when you're not.
Except for when we're not. But most of the time, there are things that we're changing as opposed to what we're starting for the first time.
Yes, but what you are learning here is that this conscious mind gives you the power to change it, to break it.
Right.
Here's the thing. no one in this room or online can ever say again, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You do know. And because of that, this shouldn't happen anymore. And when it does, you have the total ability to cut it off. The question is, will you?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, homework for next week. Section 5 of your student workbook, read it. Please do the treatment work. And then how to change your life, page 67 to 100. 67 to 100.
Treatment work.
Yes. Do the treatment work, read 67 to 100, and section 5 of your student workbook. Now the truth is, this class is designed to be done in 3 hours. So if it runs a little bit late, it's because I'm trying to get all the information. And we're not even doing that second book. I think one of us is doing. Yeah, but it's really just a book that gives you treatments and meditations and stuff.
What are the chapters that we read?
67, page 67 to 100, and that's chapter
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Chapter 7, 8, and 9. Okay, Ness, why don't you treat us out?
Okay.
So, if you could pull us down a little bit. So first of all, gratitude to all of you for your minds here tonight. It's very refreshing to hear the questions.
Yes.
To be a part of the questioning and allowing that questioning to take us somewhere else. Very often what I think I know becomes much more expanded after you all ask me what I really know. Bless you and bless you. So,
Everyone take a deep breath. Close your eyes if it's comfortable for you. And just check in for a moment and feel the expansion in your own being. Feel the life, the energy of life pulsing in your own body. Recognize how much you have expanded tonight, how much you've allowed your consciousness to expand. And knowing there's always more. There's always, 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 always more. But for tonight, for now, we are so grateful for the teachings, for the spiritual center, for Reverend James, for all of those who assist in allowing this class to come forward and to be online. Grateful for what we're taking out of here with us as we move out of this building and into our lives and into the week to come. How we'll notice each day something we perhaps slid past before. Our awareness has been heightened. Our recognition has been heightened. And our willingness to release those things that no longer serve us and to continually pour in the truth about who we really are and all that we really are, and recognizing that we are really all of it and it is all of us. So with gratitude in the heart, with great thankfulness for the truth that has been spoken, I simply release these words into the law, knowing that it accepts them and returns to us exactly as it has been spoken. So I get out of the way, let the law do its work. I release this word now into the law, and together we say,
and so it is. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
I heard something. Yeah.
You heard something new? You too, Bob. Nice meeting you. Did you say bye? See you later. Did you say you heard something new? Is that what he said? Yeah, he was saying, yeah. Yeah. Bob?